I remember more, he was always about Dungambondis Viriadas. That's where he was stationed, Dungambondis Viriadas.
So that's in
The
Egypt.
Sergeant Major. And I wish I'd have taped him to remember all these stories. I have got him singing on one of my old tapes, but only at Christmas. But I wish I had have.
Did he see the war? Did he see the trauma of the war?
Yeah, he did.
Did he ever talk about that?
No. He was never.
So he was that maybe scarred that he didn't want to talk about it.
He probably put it to the back of his mind. He never spoke about. He spoke about the way Sergeant Major treated them and everything, what made them do. But
how was the Cyprus Regiment treated? Do you know?
I think they were treated well. He never complained, as far as I know.
It was a good experience for him. So he was there for 6 years.
He was there 41 to 44, 3 years.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So I think in Egypt it wasn't as fierce as it was in the rest of Europe, the fighting.
Maybe not. It was all in where? Was it France, Germany?
France, Germany, Lava.
Greece.
Yeah, so
Egypt wasn't as fierce, probably.
So I'm personally privileged to hear your story, especially getting Amathus,
Thank you so
who
much.
I would have loved to have met. But obviously there's no way that people like that can't look down and see what's going on.
Well, I don't think even your dad would have met her if he didn't come till 72.
No,
because she came to Coventry, we fetched her. Oh, she might have done actually. Because it was 83 when she died. She came to Coventry in 1976.
Yeah.
We moved her from Birmingham to Coventry in 76. So he might have.
But she's obviously set the foundations for your family, from her to you, to your children, to their children.
Definitely.
So even their children, your grandchildren, they're here because of her.
Yeah.
And their diluted morals and foundations, by the time you get to that generation, will be down to her. So I think she's got a good heir.
She's the first generation over here, or me?
I think you're both first generation because you came when you were a child, but her more so.
Okay.
But we're here to hear your story, but I think her story needs to be told as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, so what a magnificent person.
My dad was very, very quiet. He used to work at Wimbushes 6 nights a week. He'd sleep through the day, get up at night, have his meal and go to work.
Goodness.
Come in the morning, have his breakfast, go to bed.
Did you ever hear them argue?
Oh yeah, they had arguments, few arguments. Not very often because they never got together very often because he was in bed. It was only during a Sunday if they argued, but not a lot. Not.
But
no one ran out on anybody else.
Yeah, but that's good because in your childhood you didn't get...
I can't even remember what they argued about.
Because if you're raised in a house with enough finesse, it doesn't have a bad impact. I always tell my wife that, finances.
Yeah, it is bad on the children. I've got a habit of raising my voice, which is bad, and I think it's an Oradigon thing. We all shout.
Did your mum used to shout at you?
Yeah, not shout at us, but she used to talk loud.
Oh yeah.
And we do in Oran. We've got a very, very loud voice.
Is there any traditions from Oran that you know of, or is there any special? I don't know, even Faya is Oras.
Faya we do. Faji, Medir Toriz, they call it Mugendran.
Mugendra?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know Mugendra. Is that from Oran?
Well, a lot of people say we don't do it like that. I said, well, that's how my mum used to do it. And another thing, we have black-eyed beans one day, and if any were left out over the next day, she wouldn't do them warm them up and give them to us. She would fry a bit of onion, put the luvin in, warm that up with a bit of olive oil and vinegar, and we'd have it fried the next day with onion, which I've never heard anyone doing. And I says, well, it must be from Oran.
Must be your mum's recipe.
It must be my mum's recipe, I don't know. No, I have heard other people in Oran do it like that.
Do you go back to Oran now? Or?
We go back every year now.
Do you stay in Oran, or where do you...
No, I don't stay in Oran, we stay in Limassol.
Have you got a house in Limassol?
We've got a flat in Limassol.
Where's your flat?
In Capsalos.
Capsalos, yeah.
Yeah. We had the house in Oran. My mum and dad kept it when they left. But then when I got engaged, mum said to me, Dad, do you want the house? Do you want anything in Oran? Because it needed work on it and it was going to fall down, and I said, no, Mum, I don't think I'll ever go back to live in Cyprus. So she sold everything. She put everything up on the auction and sold everything. But I know my house, and I have been and visited it. Every year now when we go, I go twice, because there's a church there called the Ayia Marina. And Ayia Marina is one of my saints, my Prostadisa.
Yeah, I love Ayia Marina.
And I've named my daughter Marina after Ayia Marina. And I did a fundraising about 3 years ago at our church here, and raised €11,000 for the church.
Wow.
Because they did the church up. Me and my other friend from Oran, we started it all, and friends from Coventry helped me, and it was a fantastic day. We had a fantastic day in Coventry at the church. Thank you to everyone who helped. So me and my friend went to Cyprus and donated the money, and I think a lot of my village, I'm just sad that it's got no gaffany on there.
No.
Every time you go now, all the gaffanias have closed.
There's nowhere to sit and socialise and enjoy the village.
No. I go and visit a friend there, and I go and visit the priest and his family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll have to explain to us where your mum's house is, because we would like to go when we go to Cyprus.
My mum's house, if you ask for the priest, Don Papa Andrea, Don Paralishodin.
I said, budem το σπίτι της Ελένης της ώρα της σας.
Yeah. My house is opposite the priest's house. Το σπίτι της ώρα της σας is opposite the Paralishodis' house.
Probably because when we go, there's usually in some villages like that, there's no one walking around.
Well, if you go to the church, if you visit the church in Oran,
yeah,
you go at the back of the church, go straight up, and on the left, the first house that you'll find that's habitable is the priest's, and then opposite that is my house. There's
someone own it now and fixed it
someone up? Someone in there, yeah, at the moment. I think Christina is the lady that it was sold to, or her daughter. I'm not sure.
Okay, we'll go there and we'll check it out.
You'll find somebody. If you go over weekend, there is probably people there.
We're there from Saturday to Saturday, but we're filming only Monday to Friday.
Oh, they'll be there.
Yeah. So we'll try and get as many villages as we can.
Okay.
As we can. Well, thank you very much.
Lovely.
Και η ιστορία σου είναι απίθανη.
Thank you very much for...
Και μπράβο σου, Θεία, for everything that you've done. Εγώ που είμαι νέος, I hope that I can follow your footsteps and your mom's footsteps.
Thank you so much.
Ποτέ ο Θεός.
Ο Θεός να σου βοηθήσει.
Ναι, μας βοηθάμε. Δόξα τω Θεώ, βοηθάμε πολλά, απλά μου αξίζει τόση βοήθεια που έχουμε.
Παναγιώτη μου, I'm going to say this in Greek, but I say to everybody, δίχως το Θεόν δεν είμαστε τίποτε.
Ναι, ξέρω Θεία.
Και ο Πάτερ Θεόδωρος πάντα να λέμε δόξα τω Θεόν. None of this is mine. And ούλα από το Θεό.
Ναι.
Είναι ούλα θελήματα του Θεού.
Ναι, ξέρω Θεία. Ξέρω that that's why I see this as a big responsibility. You just said I wish I had my dad on camera. You know, I wish I could listen to his stories, even your mum. I wish I could hear her. You know, so we need to capture these stories, because when your grandchildren go and they know that this exists, they'll be dying to see it.
Well, I've promised my grandson, my son's lad, who's also named Stelios Tsikkri after his own Bapu, that next year I'm taking him to Cyprus around April, May to pick gapari.
Oh, yeah?
Because he loves gaparin, and every time I bring it over he thinks it's ready made and he can just eat it. And I said, Stelios, well, you need to see the work that goes into that before it comes to the table. So he said, well, what do you do, Yaya? I said, well, in April, that's why we go to Cyprus around April. That's when it grows, and we have to go and pick it, clean it, take all the thorns off, and we put it in water, change the water for a week, so that we get the bitterness out, and then we put it in salt water and a bit of vinegar, and then we pack it or bottle it and bring it to England, and then we can eat it through the year. And it's hard work getting it to the table. He said, all right, yeah, I'll take you up. And last night when I saw him, he said, don't forget, yeah, next year I'm coming to Cyprus with you. I said, okay. And then we'll go again in September. You love green olives. Oh, do you crack them, yeah? Is that why they're cracked? I said, yes, that's why they're cracked, and that's why they're called takistes.
Takistes.
So, yes, you come and we pick olives, and we'll do the same with olives.
Where would you pick olives, though?
We've got a very good friend in Gallagin.
Oh, yeah. Have you still got a house in Gallagin? Or?
Yes, we've still got the house in Gallagin. My father-in-law gave it to us when before he passed away. He divided everything he had to there's three boys. in the family. So we've got the Gaffinion and the house next door in Gillagin. And although we have got olives, trees and whatever, but they're not being looked after. We've got a very good friend in Gillagin, Oroiros. We christened their son, and every year when we go and pick a bucket of his olives. We pick the gaparin from his horafin, the olives from his horafin.
No, you can't get better than fresh produce. Do you make that into ladin or?
No, we only take enough. Oh, we can't take too much off him, can we?
Well, it depends how many years he's got.
He's got loads. Well, it's his business. It's a business for him.
Okay.
He picks them and he sells olives and he sells ladin. Sometimes he'll give us some olive. If we ask him to buy olive oil from him, he won't have money. So I'd rather buy it from somebody else that will have the money.
Yeah.
Because they're good to us.
To say yes and they become ladin.
Well, it's our bervolin that we had from my father-in-law, we gave to my youngest daughter because she went to Cyprus, did what I did. She's followed my footsteps. Went over there, she got engaged, she came over here, she got married. Then she went back to Cyprus, tried to make a life over there because she liked it and couldn't make a go of it. They came back over here. And then after a few years, they've emigrated to Australia.
Oh, wow. She's got the horafin in Gillagin.
So we gave her the horafka thinking that she'd be the one to live there and look after everything. And there's somebody looking after the horafin at the moment, and he's planted a lot of olive trees, so maybe one day they'll get olives and olive oil, but not me. By the time they come to that stage.
Let's see from generation to generation how attached they are to Cyprus.
She will be. Marina will always be, because his parents are still out there. They're from Yermasoyan. Well, I'll say Yermasoyan. His mum's from Gillagin, but she lives in Yermasoyan. And they've got roots there. Both of them have got roots.
Yeah. So I guess his brothers and sisters will be there.
He's got one sister.
Yeah.
No more.
Yeah, I've got to call him in to switch these off because we're having general chat now.
Okay.
And we're recording all this stuff.
Well, you can delete it all.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Let me just try and get round here.
There's anything else I can tell you.
It's just what I love here with this little piece.
I don't think so.
If there is, if you remember anything,
don't
forget there's a book as well. So remember anything, we'll add it in the transcript. And that, and no Mrs. Adine Weeks, but you'd be amazed.
I can say on there that my mother was the first one. After her funeral, she didn't want flowers. I'll look that way.
Yeah.
She didn't want flowers at her funeral. She wanted the money, people to donate money, so that we could donate the money to church, and they could do whatever they wanted with it. So we did. She was the first one where we had no flowers at the funeral, only family flowers, and we collected about £1,000 that went to the Greek Orthodox Church in Coventry.
Wow.
Yeah. And a lot of people have followed suit after that.
She had that pre-planned.
She set a lot of.
All good.
Yeah. It's not live. It's not a live stream into BBC.
That's good.
And imagine a documentary is 1 hour long. So
it's little bits.
So it's little captures of everyone's journey and their houses and footage of Kibra and footage of Birmingham. So it's like the book will portray more of each individual interview. Yeah. But the documentary is just like a capture.
When are you hoping for the
29th of August, 29th of October next year will be the launch at Millennium Point in Birmingham at the auditorium. So it'll be a premiere.
Millennium Point, where's that?
It's a new building. It's one of the new science buildings. It's in Birmingham City Centre, just where Aston University is. But we'll give you all the details and the invite, and then you can bring your family with you, God willing. And we're all in good health. Prodelphios.
Right, ready?
Yeah.
Good luck.
Have a nice tea.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you. Anything you want, just ask my husband.
Alright, brilliant. Thanks a lot.
He'll look after you.
Thank you.
So, yeah, we'll talk in English if that's okay.
Fine.
Yeah. So, can you introduce yourself and tell me where you were born, how old you are, what's your name? And we'll start off like that.
Dona Muine Maria Prostobaro Tsikkris. Imu Maria Kyriakou. Prina Bandrefton.
English.
Sorry.
If you talk English now and again, it'd be lazzy.
My name is Maria Kyriakou. I'm married and I'm Maria Tsikkri now. Maria Tsikkri.
When were you born?
I was born on in February 1941 in a very small village, Ora, Larnaca, Cyprus. And I went to school for 1 year in Cyprus, first year, and then we came to England.
Okay, so you went to school in Cyprus, would have been 6, wouldn't it?
Yeah, 6.
Yeah. So do you remember that?
I remember going 1 year to school. Yes.
Yeah, how was school in Cyprus?
It was one big classroom.
Yeah.
At the edge of the village. And as I said, I only went for 1 year as a small child, and then the next year we left and came to England.
So your family decided to leave Oran and come to...
Well, my dad left Oran in 1946. He left before us, left his family in Oran.
So Thea, you know when your dad left, 1946, so you were born in 1941, so you were 5.
Yeah.
Do you remember the day he left?
No, I don't remember my dad leaving. Because he left just after I was born and he went in the army.
So your dad was in the Second World War?
My dad was in the Second World War. Going by his book, he left in March 41 and I was only born February 41.
And he was part of the Cyprus?
He was part of the Cyprus regiment in Egypt.
Okay.
He was given an award. It does say in his little book that he was awarded a medal.
Okay, what's that for?
I don't know. It might say it in the book, I don't know. But then when he came back after the war, I don't remember him much because he came back in 44. In 1946 he left and came to England.
Was that the year before you went to school then, isn't it? So you went to school in 1947 probably?
Probably.
Okay, so then obviously he came to England to set everything up for you and for you to come as a family?
Yes.
Do you remember leaving Cyprus?
I remember us leaving Cyprus, yes.
Yeah? How was that? Do you remember that specific day?
I remember getting on one of those big buses that they used to have.
Oh, you mean the village buses?
The village buses.
Oh, yeah.
Going to Larnaca, and then we had to get on a little boat to go out to find the ship, because they couldn't come near enough.
Do you remember what the ship was called? Was it Masabia or...?
Could be. Masabia, Achilleos.
Yeah.
There was a few that used to come over there.
And that went all the way from Cyprus to the UK? Or did it stop somewhere?
He went from Cyprus, no, not to UK, to, was it Genoa? It didn't come all the way to England, in Italy.
Oh, yeah.
And then from there we got on a train.
Gravina, maybe?
Or Rafina's in Greece.
Oh, okay. Okay, then you caught the train to France.
The train to France. And then we must have come across on a boat again and landed at...
Dover?
No. Wherever we landed, we came by train then to Waterloo.
Do you remember the journey at all?
I do remember the journey. I remember the journey on the boat a lot because the ship kept breaking down.
Wow.
And another ship would come by, fix whatever was wrong with our ship, give us food, and then it would take off, and then we would start off again, and then the ship would break down a few more days down the road. It took a long time for us to get to England. My mum said it took a month, but I don't know exactly how long it took.
Were you scared in the ship?
Not really, because I think we were too young to be scared to remember. It was just an adventure for us. No.
And then you came to England. Do you remember the first day you got here?
I remember the first day when we got to London. Some either friend or relative or a village friend of Mum's and Dad's came to meet us at the airport. Not at the airport, at the train station. Took us to the house in London where we stayed the night until my uncle Bandili could come from Coventry to pick us up to bring us back up north, up to Coventry, Birmingham. And they had the old gas lamps on the wall. And when my mum went to bed at night, she just blew it out. And they could smell it, the people that had the house, and they came running upstairs and they said, "What have you done? What have you done? You'll gas us all." Well, she wasn't to know, so I do remember little bits.
What was your mum like when she came here? Was she happy to come to England? You must have spoke to her about it after.
God rest her soul. She was happy because she was able to provide food for her family. It was very, very, very scarce in Cyprus, food. No money, no work, before they left. Yes.
So when you came over here, it was post-Second World War. So you were living on rations?
We had the ration books. I wish I'd still got one. We had rations, yes, and my mum would sell our sweet rations, tea rations, butter rations. She would give them to her friends or sell them for other ration, so that she could buy a bit of extra flour or whatever to make bread for us.
Okay.
Yeah.
She's trying to keep you
or a little bit of extra
diet.
meat, or yeah.
So, where did you stay? You came to Birmingham. Was your dad already established in Birmingham?
We first originally we came straight to Coventry, because Uncle Bandilly fetched us to Coventry, but then the wages weren't very good here, so my brother went to Birmingham, found a house in Birmingham in Charles Road, and we moved to Birmingham in 1950. Charles Road. And my dad worked for A.D. Wimbush, the bakers.
Okay.
And my mum worked at BSA, sewing saddles for the motorbikes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so your husband mentioned something about nasul bitin historia and bosistasi. Is there something else about the reason you came over?
The reason we came over to England was when the British went to Cyprus asking people to enrol in the British Army, they offered my dad a passage to England. Well, not just my dad, everybody. They offered him a life in England after that. So that's why he went in the army. And that's why we were allowed to come to England. And I think the trip that my husband probably meant was the trip on the boat, that it took us so long to get here.
Yeah.
It was horrendous, really.
Yeah.
Not for a child, but for the older ones.
I can only imagine.
Wondering if they could survive. Coming to an unknown country. My mum couldn't speak a word of English. Not once. Neither of us could. None of us knew.
How were the English with you?
They were bewildered because they'd never heard where Cyprus was. Where are you from? I'm from Cyprus. Oh, where's that? Nobody knew where Cyprus was. I was the only foreign child in school. Couldn't speak a word of English. I didn't have a one-to-one like they do now to teach them. But
So
within, I
you had
think,
to
about
learn the
12
hard
months. Yeah, within about 12 months we were fluent. I was doing interviews, being the interpreter for my mum and dad for either solicitors or hospitals and doctors, whatever, at the age of 11.
So, but your mum and dad, didn't they learn English in the factories and the
They learnt a little bit, but they weren't fluent. Mum a little bit more than my dad. My dad was just a laid-back person.
If someone was to ask you what sticks out about your childhood, can you tell me a day or something that happened in your childhood that you really, really remember? You know, or when you noticed that your mum and dad were struggling being in England. Do you remember any of that?
Well, I remember struggling because my mother used to have lodgers in the house to help pay for the mortgage and everything. And the lodgers always got first pick of the food, and we would have, being her children, what was left over. And it used to hurt.
Yeah.
It used to hurt a lot. We always had food, but the lodgers paid, so they came first.
So were they the Greek lodgers from Cyprus?
Yeah, there were Greeks. She put up quite a few people from Cyprus.
Yeah.
That came over in the same situation.
And what is this house in Birmingham?
This is Charles Road in Birmingham.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there was no church in the 50s, or?
The only church I remember was St James's Church. I think it's Erdington in Birmingham. A priest used to come from London every 3 months.
Yeah.
And we would catch the bus.
It's Pershall Road. Is it Pershall Road in Birmingham?
Is it on?
Yeah, it's on Pershall Road, yeah. But anyway, yeah, so the priest used to come from London every 3 months.
The priest used to come from Birmingham once every 3 months, and we would go and have our service after the English service there. Yeah. And we would always get on the bus and go.
Because no one drove, did they?
No, none of us drove, no, but we couldn't afford a car anyway at the time.
Yeah, was there many Greeks from Cyprus in Birmingham then?
There's a few families that I remember. Do you want me to mention them?
Yeah, mention them.
Idano Epifanis, Idano Stelios, Idano. They had the Olympia restaurant. Ήταν ένας Christos, can't remember his wife. Είχα μια σκιοκόρηση Maria Giaglaia. They lived on Pershall Road.
Because in the 40s and early 50s, There was a lot of people from Gadodrin and places like that,
Yeah, I
wasn't
think
there?
these were from Gadodrin.
So these are the lace traders?
Yeah.
Like in Dimata?
Yeah. Idan dagen dimata, idan o... One of them was Gavrilatos. Stella Gavrilatos.
Yeah, we know one about them.
Idan o... Ilulla. What was her name? She was from Bavlan. Ilulla. Borpakshas.
Yeah.
Who isn't with us anymore, nor her husband. They've both passed away.
Yeah. So they're related to Stella, aren't they?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you were in school, is there anything that sticks out as a memory in school? Did you have a good time in school? Was there any day that you can remember that you came home and you did not want to go back again?
No, never. I was happy at school. We used to get up in the morning, look after ourselves and go to school because my mum was up and out of the house at 7:30 going to work. Excuse me. We used to have to get my little brother ready and take him to school, and me and my sister would go to school. My other sister, God bless her, she was 13 and Mum got her to work in the factory. She said she was 15.
Oh,
And when they found out that she wasn't 15, they stopped her working and made her go to school. But that's how poor they were, they needed the money. And yeah, we'd get up in the morning, get ready, go to school, come back in the afternoon, get things going for our tea at home until Mum could come home from work. We just brought ourselves up.
Did you ever go back to Cyprus during that time period?
The first time I went to Cyprus was in 1959, when I was 18 years old.
Wow.
My first impression of Cyprus when we got there with my dad, just me and Dad, we were driving in the hills to get to Oran, and when we got there, the lights were no electricity, no running water, nothing. I said to him, "Please, Dad, can the taxi take us back home?"
So
it was such a shock.
So when you went to Cyprus in 1959, in 1955 to 59, obviously there was Eoga. Did that have any impact on you living in England? Did anyone say anything to you? There was things going on in the papers at the time?
Not a lot, no. We used to follow it on the TV. We didn't have a TV until 1957 actually, at home. So we used to follow it on TV. My mum and Dad spoke about it, but I wasn't interested in it. I was, 1955, 57, I was 16. No, they weren't nasty to me about it. No.
Okay.
At school.
That's good to know.
I made friends at school. I had a long life friend from school until she passed away a few years ago. No, I was all right at school.
So you went back. Why did you go back when you were 18? It wasn't to find a husband, was it?
It wasn't. It was definitely not to find a husband. But my dad wanted to go and see his relatives, his sister and nephews and whatever.
Your dad was from where? Oran?
My dad was from Oran, but he wouldn't travel on his own. So he tried to encourage me to go, and I didn't want to go because I knew I was going to end up with a husband.
Yeah. You know, everyone that I've spoken to says to me about this famous woman, Eleni Budinora. Yeah. And they always says that if you didn't say Eleni from Ora, you wouldn't know who you were talking about. Why was your mum so famous?
My mum was so famous, I think, because she helped so many people.
Yeah.
Her door was always open. She would put anybody up, she would feed anyone, she would help anyone out. She was not excluded from anybody. Everybody in Birmingham knew her, everybody. And that's what she was called, Eleni Ioradissa. Everybody knew her. She was a good soul. At her funeral, how many years now? 1983. 35 years ago? Yeah. There was over 300-400 people at the church in Coventry.
Wow.
Yeah, she was very famous.
Wow.
She was a very good person.
So you went to Cyprus when you were 18?
Yeah.
Yeah? And then you thought, what's going on here? No water, no electricity, what's happening? So how long did you stay there for?
Well, our ticket was booked to come back on the 9th of September. We went July the 17th.
Is this by boat?
No, we flew with a little aeroplane with the...
From where? From England?
From London, from Heathrow.
Wow.
To Cyprus. What do they call them? With
propellers.
Propellers. Flew to Nicosia, and then we got a taxi and went straight to Oran. Yeah, and then when I saw the next day, you could hear cockerels crowing and the chickens waking you up in the morning. And we met the family, and everybody from the village would come and see my dad because they knew him, see his daughter, and made us all welcome. And then within a few days, my cousin came from Stelios' village, Gellagin, to see us.
Oh no.
Yeah, and that's where everything's changed.
So did you know that you were going there and he was potentially going to marry you off?
No, he promised me he wouldn't.
Okay.
Because I kept saying, I don't want to get married, Dad. I was 18, I wanted a career. I was a shorthand typist, and I didn't want to get married early because my sister got married when she was 17. 2 kids at 17, she had twins. And I could see her life, and I just didn't want the same.
So what happened then? So tell me the story.
Oh, do you really want to know it?
Of course we want to know it. So his cousin came to see you.
So his cousin came to see me with his wife.
Yeah.
Well, his wife is my husband's auntie.
Yeah.
And she goes back to Gellagin and she says to her sister, which is my husband's mother, Maria, Alexandros' cousin's come from England. You should get your Stella to see her. She's so beautiful. She's a lovely person, a lovely girl. Honestly, she's really good for Stella. So the next day, this old man comes from Gellagin to see me on a donkey. And when he left, I said to Dad, "Who's that man, Dad? No one introduced me. Is he from Moran?" He says, no. He's got a son who lives in Limassol. And he wants him to come and see you. And I says, "Dad, you promised me you wouldn't get me engaged. Now, I don't want to see anyone. I don't want him to come." "Well, you don't have to get engaged to him, just see him." I said, no. I don't want to see anybody. But anyways, luck would have it. His cousin was getting christened in August. So he was told about me. Gets a car from Gellagin and comes to Oran to take us to Gellagin for the christening. And as soon as I saw him, my heart melted.
Oh.
My heart melted. We were 2 kids. He was 19 and I was 18. And,
Is he a real manga?
And yeah, that's how it went from there. Yeah.
And where did you get engaged?
We met him on the Saturday night.
Yeah.
Got engaged on the Monday.
Oh wow. Wow.
All over by Monday. So I extended my trip to Cyprus because I had to get him a visa to come to England.
Yeah.
And we came November the 19th. We came back to England with my husband, my fiance.
In 1959.
1959, the 19th of November 59. My dad came back on the 9th of September as planned. And then we got married the following year.
And where was your mum?
My mum was in Birmingham.
So did she know?
She knew when I wrote to her, but she was really, really mad at me.
Oh no.
Really mad at me for not taking her into consideration and doing it without her blessing. And
oh no.
But I had my dad.
So you got engaged and then you brought your fiancé back and that's it? Your mum had to just...
Yeah, we knocked on the door, shouted through the letterbox, "Mum, bring your purse because I've got nothing to pay the taxi with." And she did. She ended up paying.
What did she do when she first seen you?
She was okay. She was all right.
And you all lived together, obviously?
We all lived in Charles Road, famous Charles Road.
So what were you doing at 18? What were you doing?
My first job when I came back from Cyprus, I got a job with Holden Paints in Small Heath. Then from there I left and I went to work for the Her Majesty's Revenue Office in Clay Lane.
Mm.
And I had a very good job there, which I loved. I was the secretary to the top man there.
Yeah.
And my sister bought a fish and chip shop in Green Lane and we helped them out.
Green Lane, what area is that?
In Small Heath,
Small
just
Heath.
at the back of where we lived in Charles Road, Small Heath, Green Lane. But then my husband saw the potential in a fish and chip shop and he wanted a fish and chip shop. Because he's a motor mechanic, my husband. Mm. And he worked for AD Wimbush fixing cars, fixing their vans. And he just wanted to work for himself in a chippy. So he made me leave my job. I cried my eyes out. We moved to Coventry, bought a chip shop in Coventry in 1961. And that's my married life.
Yeah. So you had your kids?
I had first baby in Birmingham.
Yeah.
Yes, in Charles Road. My mum used to look after him while I went to work at the Revenue Office. And then we moved to Coventry and I had my second daughter in Coventry and I had my third daughter in Coventry.
So you got married in Birmingham?
I got married in St Andrew's Church in Birmingham.
So you must have been some of the first weddings
April 60, we got married.
So you know when they were getting you ready with the violin and the laudo, was it an emotional time?
I don't know if I had the violin round the house actually. My friend, Gumeral Phyllis came, a school friend from Greek school came and she did my hair, got me dressed. I don't think we had the violin and the laudon at home.
Okay, so you went to Greek school then?
I went to Greek school in Digbeth. Yeah.
Oh, where, St James's?
Going back.
Or was that somewhere else?
It was an old building in Digbeth on the main road, opposite the old bus station now.
Yeah.
I never went to the one at the back of Apostolos Andreas Church.
Wasn't there a Greek school in a calf from Kyria Margarita? Yeah. Did you ever go to that?
No.
Was that before your time?
The calf was... Ήταν του Παπασωτήρη.
Maybe, I don't know.
Papa Alexandra. I didn't go to that one. I had private lessons with Kyrios Yasonas and Maroula in Golden Hillock Road. I used to go to their house once a week and he would give me and my brother lessons, private lessons at home, Greek lessons. And then when the Greek school opened in Digbeth, I went there. I went with Maroula and a few others. Greek girls. In Maroula, her dad was George. She was married to, is it Mapouras?
Oh, I know who he is.
She had
you spoke Greek at home now?
Well, Mum and Dad couldn't speak Greek, so we had to speak Greek.
Couldn't speak English, yeah.
Sorry, couldn't speak English. Yeah. Running ahead of myself.
So, you moved to Coventry, but you would see your parents, I'm assuming.
Oh yeah, regularly. We used to go every week.
So you still go from Coventry to Birmingham to church?
Every week, yeah.
Because there was no church up here?
No, we didn't have a church up here until 1964.
Okay.
So we travelled to Birmingham.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And then you christened all your children in Birmingham?
I christened Michael in Birmingham. But then when Eleni was born in May, and I think by October when we christened her, we had our own church in Coventry, in just Humber Avenue, Acacia Road.
I've been to the church in Coventry, yeah.
Have you been? Not the one we've got now.
Oh, you had a different one, okay.
We had one, two, this is the third one. Oh. We had one at Barras Heath, and the one that Eleni was christened at was St Albans, I think, in Acacia Avenue, just off Humber Road in Coventry. She was the first child to be christened in Coventry in a Greek Orthodox church.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, well, it wasn't a Greek Orthodox church really. We used to rent it off an English church.
Yeah, like St James.
Yeah, like St James. Yeah.
So, your children, did you speak Greek to them when they grew up?
Oh yeah, we tried to. My oldest speaks good English, Michael. Eleni's not too bad, and Marina not so good at all. But they've always been to Cyprus on holidays with us. We've been to Greece and taken them with us. They went to Greek school, but as much as you can try, the too many hours with English friends and English schools and whatever.
Yeah. They didn't have any difficulty, did they, growing up? I mean,
they were never bullied at
Greek
school.
Cypriot values and...
No, they still value their, what can you call it? Not heritage, their...
traditions.
Traditions, yeah.
Have you embedded them traditions on them?
Yes.
So, are they all married off?
They're all married off. Unfortunately, my eldest son got divorced, and he's with a partner at the moment. The other two are still with their husbands. I've got 8 beautiful grandchildren.
Oh wow!
And 3 lovely children, wonderful children.
How old is your oldest grandchild?
My eldest grandchild is 31.
Wow, he'll do you a great grandchild.
Sorry, he'll do me.
I says he's the right age for a great grandchild.
Well, that's what I was saying earlier on. I'm just waiting for him to find a wife, and
it does help.
Oh, I know. Oh, I've told all of them I don't want any grandchildren unless they're married. I don't like this new tradition.
So let's back to your mum. Obviously, Eleni or Radissa, who was famous to everyone in the community. She must have had a real big soft spot for your children.
For her children?
For your children.
For my children.
Did she have a good relationship with her grandchildren?
She had a good relationship with all her grandchildren, to be honest. I think she favoured maybe the oldest in each family.
Yeah.
don't forget that my brother and my sister were in Australia, so she didn't have much of a relationship with them.
Yeah.
So it leaves my sister, Amathus, and me, and my young brother, Gusta, who she saw her grandchildren with. And she favoured, I think, one of each family, but I'm not going to mention names.
Okay, that's fine. So tell me a bit about that. She really wanted to see. Is it a granddaughter or a grandson engaged? You told me before. Tell me a bit about
Granddaughter, my daughter, because many years after we came to Coventry, obviously my mum and dad got older. So I said to her, why don't you come and live in Coventry, Mum? Save me having to come up to Birmingham to take you to the doctors, the hospitals, and another. Because I'd got 3 children by then. I couldn't keep travelling backwards and forwards to Birmingham. My children were at school. They had homework. We tried to do our best for them. And I was working in a chip shop and I couldn't do the travelling. So we moved them to Glover Street in Coventry. And then after that, when we moved from Glover Street to here, when I moved from Daventry Road to here, we couldn't sell Daventry Road. So I said to her, we sell your house, Mum, which is a first-time buyer's house, it's a small one, and you move into my house, and then we can buy this house. So she lived 8 doors away from my son-in-law, so Simba Therese. And she always loved Jimmy, my son-in-law, my mum. And when they went and asked my mum about Jimmy, she says, well, she's still at college. I don't think they'll say yes. But they came and asked for Eleni. And my mum said, he's a lovely person, Maria. And I said, look, it's up to Eleni. I'm not going to get bombarded into making my children marry who I want. It's up to them. There's no Bruxenia, there's no whatever. I can introduce them, and from there on, it's up to them. So they came and asked for Eleni, and she says, no, I don't want to get engaged now. I want to finish college, and then we'll see. So when the college finished, Mum went round to Zimbabwe and she says, Eleni's finished college, you better go and ask for her now because there's other people asking. I'm not bragging.
She wanted to get in there.
I'm not bragging, she wanted to get in. So yeah, they came and asked for her and we gave them a few minutes on their own, they went for a walk and whatever, yeah, and they hit it off. And she always said to Jimmy, she said, if I was younger, Jimmy, I wouldn't let Eleni marry you, I'd have you for myself. Yeah, she was a character. Yeah, and she always wanted to see my child get married, but she didn't live till the wedding, she lived to the engagement.
So tell me, if it's okay with you, a bit about that day. So she got the...
That day, we got up in the morning, went to church, came back home and I dropped her off. And I said, I'll pick you up at, I can't remember, 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon, Mum, and we'll go to the Earls of Warwick for the engagement party. She said, okay, Maria, I'll be ready. So we came home and she got ourselves ready, got Eleni ready, and we went to pick her up, and she says, hang on a minute, Maria, I've got to give the keys to my neighbour. I says, what for, Mum? I'm going to bring you home tonight. She says, you never know, Maria, I might not come home, and I've got Christina's car in the garage. They're going to come and pick you up tonight. They're coming from Cyprus and they'll need to get in the garage. I said, oh, don't be so silly, Mum, of course you're coming home tonight. She says, well, just in case, let them have the keys next door.
She knew, huh?
So we went to the engagement party. It was just relatives, actually, at the party. We had a lovely time, all the relatives there. She went round, every single person, spoke to them all.
Was your dad there?
My dad was there, yeah. Not talking a lot about Dad because he was very quiet. He used to sit there and say nothing, bless him. Yeah, Dad was there. And she went and she already sent us. And she said farewell to them all. Every single person there that she knew, she said farewell. Might not see you again. Might not see you again. And after we all sat down and ate dinner, she got up and she started doing her old Greek dance. And Eleni came up to me and she says, Mum, I'm going to go and dance with Yaya. And I says, go on then. So she was dancing and we were all clapping them. And they got up and they were putting money on the plate for the music. And a fiver fell on the floor and Mum picked it up and put it there. And he said, Yasu, Yaya, you're doing well for a 21-year-old, keep going. And he says, 21, I'm 72. And she just turned round when I found a stool and sat on it, and she went. It's just so sad. So sad for us all that day.
Well, I can feel how sad it is.
Unfortunately, they tried, but what is it? Her heart just gave up. I think she was overwhelmed with Eleni getting engaged.
How did you know that she wasn't sleeping? Did you think
she couldn't? Oh, you have to do, pulses. We tried everything. We got the ambulance, and they came round straight away and they said, "I'm so sorry. There's nothing we can do." And my own doctor came round and he saw the video and he says, "Maria," he said, "if I'd have been there, there was nothing we could have done for you more." She died with dignity. She died very, very happy.
See, that is amazing because it's almost like that was scheduled. It's almost like
she waited.
It's almost like an angel came to speak to her to say.
She knew right from that day in the morning that she was going that day.
That's persistently come with you.
Well, I've never watched that film. I let Doctor watch it on his own in my living room, and he said to me, "She died with dignity."
You were very close with your mama.
I was. As I said, to my brother and sister went to Australia. My other sister was in Cyprus. There was only me and my young brother over here. My young brother wasn't talking to my mum at the time, so there was only me. And
was there any reason why? Silly reasons.
Stupid things. Silly things.
That's a shame.
Silly things. Oh.
But for what you've told me about your mum, she almost seemed like she was the place to go if you needed help. She was the one-stop shop.
I think I could call her the matriarch of Birmingham. She was.
The Mother Teresa of Birmingham.
Everybody knew her. Everybody in Birmingham knew her. In a nice way. In a very nice way. If she had money, she would lend it to people. She never had a business. They worked. Both of them worked with a wage. But she borrowed money to come over here for our tickets. They borrowed money to put down a deposit on the house, Mum and Dad. And they managed to work and pay every penny off. Every single penny.
Did you ever see your mum emotional about something and you didn't know what it was about?
No, never.
Or was she solid?
No, she was a solid person, very strong. She was strong. She worked hard worker. As a child, not as a child in Cyprus, in her youth, because she was married. She was born 1911 and married 1930, so that made her what, 19?
Yeah.
She used to go and dig the roads to make roads.
Oh, wow.
Dirt roads with a great big axe. Yeah. I wish I'd got photos of her. Yeah.
She sounds like an amazing woman, and I've heard so much about her from different people, not even prompting it. Everyone's been telling me I didn't know anything or Addis.
Yeah. They all called her Eleni. Eleni or Addis.
So she came and she acclimatised to England, and she helped you have a smooth running and a childhood that was undisturbed.
We weren't bullied at school, although we couldn't speak the language. We got up, we were happy to go to school. We didn't have much on our backs when we went to school. It was freezing in those years. Nothing like we're getting now. Warm clothes, nice shoes, socks. Nothing like that.
What about your dad? Did your dad ever talk about the Second World War?
He used to. My husband will probably